I was 13 years old when I stopped trick-or-treating. The other kids weren't so eager to give up on free candy. But something that happened that year, something really awful. My friends Owen, Drew, and I were out trekking out for candy when we came across a house that had a big bowl of it sitting on the porch. A sign above it read, "Please take just one." We joked about swiping it all, but Owen and Drew only took a few each, enough to make them feel like badass kids. I've always been so afraid to take more than one because I was intimidated by authority. Sure, it was just a sign, and it usually meant that the owner wasn't home, but I was a timid kid at the time that always did what he was told. Owen and Drew explained of how the house did the same thing every year to find that people rarely saw the guy who lived there. They dared me to do what they were too chicken to do. So I decided to see what it felt like to do something naughty. We looked around just to make sure no one was watching, and I poured the contents of the bowl into my bag. All three of us ran down the street laughing, shoving each other. Part of me expected someone to chase after us. In hindsight, I was right to be concerned. At Owen's house, we dumped down and sorted all of our yummy treasures. I tried to offer him and Drew some of my carbonated candy, but they refused. I remember Owen saying this, and I quote, "That's all you, dude," and Drew shouting, "I don't want your tainted treats." Granted, they weren't entirely serious, but I was annoyed that they weren't sharing in the responsibility, enough to go home instead of sleeping over. That night I was torn from a sugar-fueled dream, with a hand over my mouth and a knife to my neck. The skin was rough and the blade was ice cold. It was just slightly pressing onto my skin, ready to slit my throat at a moment's notice. My body went stiff. I wanted to scream, but then a gruff voice whispered, "Don't make a fucking sound." At first, I didn't realize what was happening. Where were we being burglarized? Then I got my answer. "Can't you read, you little shit?" The sign said, "Just one." Just fucking one! I'll never forget those words and the sickening smell of his breath. He went on to explain how every year he would catch kids taking 2 or 3 pieces of each candy, which always infuriated him. It wasn't until I looked at the entire bowl that he finally snapped. Why did I do something so stupid? I was terrified and humiliated at the same time. "You like candy, you little shit?" he asked me. So I shook my head, as much as I could despite his hand pressing against my face. Then he removed it, still holding the knife to my neck, and proceeded to shove the unwrapped candy into my mouth. I tried not to inhale, but I couldn't help it. I could feel the veins pushing against the back of my throat as I whimpered and drooled, and I started to gag, but the put in his hand back over my mouth so I wouldn't be able to cough anything up. I truly believed that I was going to die, and I feared my own friends as well. My life short flashed quickly before my eyes. All I could think about at the moment was, how can an adult hate children this much? Everything I presumed about them was suddenly a lie. They weren't inflatable, and their authority wasn't always law. Fine. Also, I took this guy's candy. Did I really deserve to die? As I contemplated this for the first time, expecting me to suffocate to death, my father rushed into the room, grabbed the metal desk chair, and beat the living daylights out of the guy. I never loved my dad much as I did that night. I'm an adult now, and I live alone in a nice house on a quiet street with lots of kids. Every Halloween, I would have a basket up on front of the stoop full bowl of candy, the sign that just reads, "Take as many as you want."